Hi, today we're going to be discussing parallel fifths, and they're placed within the context of part writing in a tonal setting, in an introductory manner, of course. Now, uh, parallel fifths. First part of that, let's identify what it is. So, we know what a fifth is. A fifth is when we have something like, say, D-A, D-A, think your Star Wars, interval, perfect fifth, something like that, from your aural skills or something like that. Now, parallel fifths are when we have one right after the other in a consecutive manner. So whenever you have one fifth followed by a second in direct succession. So something like that's a parallel fifth. Or those are all parallel fifths because I'm moving in parallel and the distance between them is the interval of a fifth. Now, let's see what this is going to look like and let's discuss it a little bit, kind of the nitty gritty of it and whatnot. So, obviously, if we go over here to our staff, we have, let's just pick a simple one. Let's do DA. So if we do DA, we have, I'm sorry, we'll go a little lower. So let's go down to here. DA. There we go. So if we have that, a parallel might be going down to, say, I don't know, AE. That would be a parallel fifth. Now, it's not a parallel fifth, though, if we have something like, let's say that this is going to be a fourth down to a fifth. That is not the same, and it doesn't have the same real feel to it. So we have doesn't quite work the same because again, it's while we are moving in parallel motion or similar motion rather down to a fifth, it's not two fifths in direct succession. Now, moving on, what if we have? Sorry, let me go ahead and stem that up. What if we have it elsewhere? So let's say it's not just two voices. Let's say we've got the upper two voices instead. So if we look up here in soprano alto land, this is also a parallel fifth because it's actually not required for the parallel fifth to be talking about a perfect fifth, though it does typically refer to that. So again, look for a fifth, not necessarily a perfect fifth, because this is kind of a fifth. It's the tritone, if you'll remember tritones. Tritone, tritone. So again, that is still technically speaking a parallel fifth. So that's another parallel fifth that you can have, but again, it does involve the diminished fifth or the tritone. Now, another place that you can see this is actually kind of interspersed within the voices because it's not all always out and pretty and simple to identify like that. So let's actually talk about some instances where it's going to be a little harder to see where the perfect fifth may or may not be. So let's go ahead and start with, let's just put some C's in here because C is a good note. And then we'll do GE up here. Let's actually just have the sopranos carry their E on. We'll have the basses stay the same. And then we'll go ahead and have these guys jump down a third. All right, so who can identify where our parallel fifth might be here? So there is one, and the place where it is actually, so keep in mind, we're keeping the soprano and bass the same. So they're not going to be creating a parallel fifth, given that, they're not moving. So in here, it's actually right here with the alto and tenor lines. So what we have is we have a pedal of C, then we have E up top, middle, we have made a little wide for my fingers, but you get the idea there. So we have 2/5 in direct succession, one after the other, in the alto and tenor lines. Now, moving on from that, what if it's not two voices next to each other? You can actually have it between other voices. So let's toy with this a little bit, and let's keep a lot of the same notes, but let's just mess with where some of the motion is. So if we go ahead and flip these notes around, and actually, yeah, we'll do something like that. And then if we have this guy up here, and then if we have this guy right here in kind of the same place. So all I've done here is I've switched around a few notes, but it's actually a lot of the same notes. So we still have a pedal E, this time in the bass, rather than the soprano. And we still have a pedal C, this time in the alto instead of the soprano. But if you look closely, we've still got a couple of fifths going on here. And you might be saying, Dr. Daniels, that's not a fifth, but it is. It's actually separated by an octave. So, because keep in mind, whenever we're looking at these type of things, we typically want to try and reduce it a lot, and we want to try and condense it as much as possible without losing the quality or the inversions of the chords. So, if we do that, we can kind of scrunch these together, say that that C kind of just carries through, so C to C and whatnot, but, ooh, it's going to get tricky here because check it out. We've got right here, C, E, G, down to A, C, E. Bad handwriting there. So C, E, G to A, C, E right there. So C, G to A, E. So again, if we just have the pedals of down here, and then we have the moving parts. Sorry, we have this one right here. It is C, G. So if we move, you guys kind of hear that? So the parts are still there and moving. Now, again, that's displaced by an octave, so you have to watch out for that. Now, something else kind of cool though. So if you actually have another option here, so if we keep a lot of the same notes here, just to keep it simple, but let's say that we actually move the soprano down, nothing too big there, and we'll go ahead and move that, make this flat right here, and then we'll go ahead and say, we'll go ahead and just say C right there, why not? Alright, so right here, what's going to happen is we're moving the soprano down by step this time. Now, this is a special case where it's actually okay, and let me show you how that's going to sound. So if I go, so do we see that motion there? Look at the staff. So the reason why that's okay is because it's a bit more pleasing to the ear. A lot of the tonal composers figured that was kind of okay. And generally speaking, it's a lot less egregious than, say, the jumping around between the different parallels. So that is a brief introduction to parallel fifths, and if there are no further questions, we will be moving right along.